Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting ready for match number 3, our last match of tonight. It's going to be another team match between ReBoot and ROX.
What a stacked team name just already by hearing it. You know, ReBoot is a team that has had success the last time they played, picking up a nice clutch win for themselves, while ROX, on the other hand, they didn't win, but they lost against a fearsome team known as Guangdong Freaks.
Yeah, I mean, of course, ROX definitely a tough opponent, but let's talk about ReBoot first, of course. Like you mentioned, Peter, coming in off of a victory in Week 1. They're trying to continue that trend here for Week number 2.
Of course, we can see the members marching in, looking very confident. Loading, Kosu, Luning, and Pure will be the members to round out the team.
Yeah, and of course, Kosu, another one of those players that's returning as a player here. Actually took on multiple different roles, as I know, in the parallel universe over there with a different title under Cartwriter, both as a coach, maybe some staff, you know, playing as a referee as well. So he's been all around, but he proved himself as a player returning on the stage last week. Now they're going up against ROX esports, who, like you mentioned, Peter, I mean, their lineup is stacked, but they just had to go up against such a tough opponent in their first match.
For sure, and ROX esports themselves, they are definitely going to be proving to be a tough opponent themselves. And their members will be Vega, Dutzy, Jung, Spell, and Planzy.
Yeah, I mean, Jung is one of those players who has a great reputation in that alternate dimension for Cartwriter, but now he has to prove himself here for Cartwriter Drift. And then there's Dutzy, who has one of the kind of only pure debuts here in the Cartwriter Drift League in the preseason. He has a lot to prove against all these veterans from all the different games.
Speaking of Jung, he has proven to be such a strong member for ROX, constantly leading the pack, but for now, we're going to take a look at Team ReBoot. ReBoot's completed with the first win. Will they become a dark horse this season by winning consecutive matches? That is the question. Yeah,
they very well could, and they're cheerful saying ReBoot, you know, to victory. On the backside, it says ReBoot to victory, so we'll see if they can do that. Just to take a little jab at Jung, saying, wow. Oh, you've grown a lot, Jung.
Well,
okay, I mean, listen, the players on the side of ReBoot, I mean, Jung has a great history over there on the other side, and now part of this coming from Kosu, I'm sure himself, of course, being alongside Jung in that alternate universe over there under a different Cartwriter game. We'll see if Kosu can prove himself against the superstar Jung.
You know, there definitely comes a time where maybe you're the uncle, but one day your niece is going to be stronger than you, right? And that definitely seems to be the case so far, with Jung looking so good at the top of his form, you know, with the boss of body checks from another dimension. Is this the start of the rebellion of monster rookies?
Yeah, and we've been talking about the importance of sweeping here, you know, body checking against your opponents in speed mode. We'll see if Jung can really use that to carry his team to victory. Oh, and they're predicting they're going to go for a 6-win streak starting today. So they have the loss against Guangdong Freaks, and they're saying, okay, so you're the first sacrifice here on our 6-win streak. That's a bold claim.
Not only are they saying they're going to beat ReBoot, they're saying that they're going to win 6 matches in a row for sure. That is going to be a really tough expectation to live up to, but here are the speed track list.
Yeah, and we're going to be kicking things off on Forest Zigzag Timberland. Now, that's a track in the first match of all team matches. Luning actually holding the best time, so we'll see if they can recreate that success coming into track number 1.
And then into track number 2, it is going to be Glacier Extreme Stadium. Now, this map has definitely been voted by Spell to be one of his favorites, so we're expecting a lot of things coming in from Spell.
Yeah, we'll see if they can keep that up. Of course, both teams alternating bans and picks. Now, this is another case, as we kind of hinted at, Kosu on the side of ReBoot, and then Jung on the side of ROX. Kosu used to be the coach for Jung, who's now on ROX, over on the KRPL, the Cartwriter Plus League. So we'll see if they can kind of face off against each other, who proves themselves right. Earlier, we had Hojin proving himself against his former apprentice Hero, saying that, you know, a veteran's a veteran for a reason. See if Kosu can do the same against Jung.
For sure. I mean, veterans definitely gotta prove themselves. That is what the term veteran is for. You know, you have a great record, but are you still that person?
Yeah, we'll see if, I mean, especially for Kosu, right, returning after several years. see if they can do, or see if they can prove that they haven't really lost the touch, you know, hopping around all these other roles. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the speed mode match between ReBoot and ROX. We're getting ready for track number 1. We'll be going into Forest Zigzag Timberland. And we're off. We saw it on the loading screen. ReBoot's looting, holding the best speed so far here for Zigzag at a 222.714 time.
Definitely looking really strong for looting right here, but of course there's ROX falling right behind in Vega, Dutsy, Spell, and Jung. So ROX right now only a point behind ReBoot. The second they knock out looting, that's pretty much the window they're looking for.
Yeah, looting's not exactly in safe position just yet. We're gonna have Vega sticking very close in between looting and Ding. So we'll see if Vega, can he single-handedly get in front? Ding is just trying to catch up to make sure he can provide support for looting, but actually Vega trying to find the outer line, looting not giving way.
On the other side, Dutsy, Spell, and Jong doing a great job keeping Load and Kosu locked down all the way into that position 7 and 8, giving ROX that positional advantage. They are 1 point ahead right now.
Yeah, if ROX can actually just do this and use Jung to their advantage, keeping Load and Kosu both far back, then it just comes down to Vega to just get ahead, or Dutsy, it doesn't matter which one. But if they can hold that 4-5-6, they just need to get one more spot forward so that one member can hold one of those top spots for a victory.
Dutsy looking to do just that, as we see Vega actually being the one now to be needing this hero position for ROX. Jong coming in as well, a huge player on the side of ROX, trying to break this incredible defense from Ding.
Yeah, and a great line there from Jung going in right between the wall and his opponent on the jump. He actually gets a little push forward off the boost, and he actually goes all the way forward. Jung, he's completed his job at the back of the line, keeping Load and Kosu back, and now he's moved forward trying to compete for the top spot.
This is looking really close, but ROX is ahead by 7 points. In fact, 9 points right now. Jung in the lead with 3, 4, 5 position for Dutsy, Vega, and Spell.
Oh, what a setup from ROX, and they just have to keep 2, 3, and 4, and 5 to win. They don't even have to push against looting here. They don't have to risk anything. Now, the only thing they want to be concerned about is looting potentially blocking and stopping against the members of ROX, so they're trying to spread out, make sure that they're not in risk of that. They now secure the 1 and 2. ROX sitting so comfortably. The last couple turns here coming in for Zigzag.
Right, I mean, right now, Kosu is sitting at rank number 3, trying to buy some space for Ding, looting, and Load. However, ROX is still far ahead, 9 points ahead with only 400 meters left.
Yeah, Kosu, he can't do this on his own. Even if he's trying to get this first place, it's not going to be enough, and he's not even going to get that, as Dutsy comes in first, and it should be going a victory for ROX here in track number 1.
ROX looking really strong, you know, living up to their high words that they've stated earlier. Dutsy locking that first place along with Vega and Spell in that 3-4 means ROX was able to win with a 5-point advantage, and that is quite a strong showing.
Yeah, a great setup from ROX, and it's actually incredible. We only got to see Jung show up near the end, but he was doing such a great job of keeping 2 members of ReBoot on the opposite end at the tail end of the entire race, and then he just darts forward and actually helps win some of those body checks even in the top position. So a great setup from Jung to set up his teammates for success as Dutsy comes in first place.
Jong and Vega, this is the duo combo coming in from the next dimension known as KRPL. Looking really strong here, even in KDL so far. You know, they absolutely did just that on day number 1 and 2, but so far, even on day 3, looking to be really good.
Yeah, we're gonna see Ding just trying to block for his teammates, but actually cuts a little too close to the wall and just bounces back without a successful collision there, and makes way for ROX to push forward. This fan saying, you know, this league is only fun because I get to watch ReBoot. Well, that's a lot of support for ReBoot. Can they answer, though? They're currently down 0 and 1.
Of course, we're about to find out all that in the next map here. Round number 2, it shall be held in Glacier Extreme Stadium. Kicking off round 2, we have Dutsy in the lead with Ding and Vega.
Yeah, this is another one where at the end it comes into these hairpins, but there are wide hairpins, so it's really going to come down to who can keep the inner course near the end, and if anyone gives way to a draft overtaking potential in the very last jump, we'll see how that pans out as Jung currently trying to dart forward as a Speed esports team.
Jung looking really good, always being the one to contest that front position, actually trying to break almost two people's defense, but wow.
Yeah, he actually gets bounced backwards. He gets a little too greedy on the body check, and he can't keep control of his drift. He's going to fall far behind, and now he's alongside Vega at the very end and comes down to Spell just to keep people at bay on the side of ReBoot, but they're getting away for free. 3 members up front, and it's not too close yet. Spell not in range to overtake any of them just yet.
But Joan, you see that he's trying to recover. He's coming in hot once again to try to break this 1-2-3-5 formation of ReBoot. But now this is going to be the second and final lap, so ROX really got to pull tricks out of their hat right now.
Yeah, now like you mentioned, Jung helping the rest of his teammates cash forward as well. Now that's allowed them to have another shot. Everyone's still bunched up close enough that Spell and Jung, even Dutzy, could contest for some of these top spots, but Looning getting away absolutely free up front. No one even in range to catch a draft behind him. So Looting should be coming in first, which means ROX has to contest for these second and third positions.
Ding and Kosu trying to do their job right now to block off the members of ROX. ReBoot is sitting 7 points ahead of ROX, feeling really comfortable. Jung needs to find a way to get Kosu off his team.
Oh, Jung and Kosu, the apprentice and the former coach, but Jung already puts him behind, makes him eat dust, and Jung now fighting against Looting. He's already caught up. He is in range for another potential.
Meters.
He's going to try to draft on the outer line. He's trying to cut in on the jump here, and will he get it? No! He is going to force Looting to bounce back out, but Kosu comes in first, but it's not enough. 2-3-4 goes to ROX.
Yeah, I mean, Kosu was doing great, but ROX, Jung, Dutzy, and Vega with that 2-3-4 position was all they needed to secure a 3-point advantage over ReBoot, and what a win from them.
Yeah, Jung, what a play. He actually correctly identifies that all he has to do is put pressure on Looning. Looning actually drifting too far out to try to avoid any sort of draft, and then he bounces off of the track, and then it's going to allow the rest of his teammates to catch up 2, 3, and 4. And this is what we talked about, right? It's not only about trying to get first place, because you do have to get enough points to beat your opponents.
Jung definitely showing that this man is no stranger to adaptability. You know, Jung has been mentioned so many times as the MVP for ROX, and we can clearly see why, because they are already 2 points ahead. ReBoot is definitely feeling the pressure right now.
Yeah, ReBoot now down. They're getting ready against a potential set point for ROX. We're looking at players from their previous matches just hanging out, waiting for the last match to finish. Now, this was a track where ReBoot was able to get a win last week in their first match here at the KDL, getting ready for World Tour Terracotta Twister.
Right, I mean, definitely going to be a good map for them, but of course here we have some replay. This was a crazy moment. You see that, boop, and the player just disappeared.
Yeah, Looning not able to stay on the track there. I think he might have actually gotten pushed out just a little bit by Kosu as well. We'll have to, maybe go back and look at the replay again. But it matters not as we get ready for track number 3. We're going to World Tour Terracotta Twister. ROX currently up 2-0 in this speed mode in the team match against ReBoot. And we're off as ROX wants to finish this speed mode in a 3-0 clean fashion.
ROX looking definitely strong in doing that because they are at the 2-3-4-5 formation. Looning leading the pack, but Load, Kosu, and Ding are getting blocked out by Vega.
Yeah, and something we've seen in this speed mode already is that, yes, Looning, we see why the hype is behind him for ReBoot, but he can't do it alone, right? No matter how long he holds on to his first place, if he doesn't have the proper support, he's going to have to start to make some risky moves towards the end, which has cost him the first 2 tracks.
Right, and Ding and Load and Kosu, they're trying to do whatever they can to try to get Dutzy and Jung off his heels, as ReBoot right now leading 3 points ahead of ROX. As long as Looning keeps up this advantage and his teammates are able to catch up, ReBoot might have this one in the bag for them.
Yeah, Load correctly identifying an opening there in the inside corner. He's going to come back to help Looning. Now, earlier in that difficult area of this track, we saw Ding trying to block his opponents as well, but he actually gets bounced back, so he's currently just sitting comfy in 8th place. It's going to come down to Looning and Load.
This is the final lap, so it's going to be really close. ROX ahead by 1 point in front of ReBoot right now. Looning still sitting at first place. Jung, can you get in front of Load?
Yeah, Lowe just doing what he can to try to block, but he actually scratches the wall a little too close. He's going to lose a lot of that speed, but Ding correctly boosting off of a draft. He's catching back up to try to provide support. Right now, up front, Dutzy and Looning duking it out as Jung just tries to hold Ding at bay.
Kosu and Load, they are sitting at 7th position, costing ReBoot a lot of points. They are sitting 3 points behind ROX right now. This is the trickiest part of Terracotta Twister, and our players are doing a beautiful job maneuvering through them.
Yeah, the top 3 players all taking the closest line they possibly could against the corner, and that means Dutzy, it's up to him. Can he go against Looning? He actually doesn't even need to, so he's not going to greet it. They just want to get the 2, 3, and 4, and ROX will get it. They finish speed mode 3-0 against ReBoot.
It went exactly as you said it earlier, Will. Looning, he is that consistent player for ReBoot. However, Ding, Load, and Kosu were unable to prevent Dutzy, Jung, and the rest of the ROX players from getting that 2, 3, 4, 8 position.
Yeah, and again, you can have a star player, but you got to be able to secure some of the other spots in the middle of the pack. I mean, I'm looking at the scoreboard. We should see it come up here. I mean, look at ReBoot, right? Not another single member in the top 4. That makes it very difficult, in fact, impossible to win in terms of scoreline. So Looning, he can put up all the records he wants on all these tracks, but if it's not going to be supported by his teammates, they're not going to get any more of these W's on the board.
And speaking of W's, there's already 3 locked in for ROX, so that is going to be the set 1 going over for them. And now, of course, moving into item mode, we hope to see better performance out of ReBoot because you do not want to get 3-0'd repeatedly.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. I mean, that would be a huge damage to your morale. Now, they did get their victory overall last week, winning both speed and item mode against FINALEe. So we'll see if they can do it again. Of course, the item mode, it actually came down to the wire with Kosu pulling some heroic moves for his teammates to secure the 3-2 victory. We'll see if it's going to be another close one today against ROX.
And hopefully Pure coming in as a new player, as the item specialist, will be able to provide that support that is dearly needed by ReBoot. And of course, ROX also has their specialist in PlanZ.
Yeah, PlanZ coming in as the item ace here for ROX Esports. See if he can help secure a clean 2-0 win, or if we're going to see this go to another ace match. We saw our first ace match of KDL earlier today in the first team match of the night.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, I really like ace matches, so it would be exciting definitely to see that happen again between ReBoot and ROX. But before that, we need to take a first look at item track list.
Yep, ReBoot banning out Mine Magma Cavern and Gangnam Streets. Meanwhile, Factory Cogwheel and World Tour Istanbul being banned out by ROX, which leaves us with a smaller pool, and ROX will take us first into Glacier Polar Halfpipe.
Course, that is a map with a lot of vulnerabilities, and then followed by Factory, Brody's Gloom for ReBoot. So it's interesting that, you know, this map was picked as their favorite because not a lot of teams pick that one as, you know, their favorites.
Yeah, we don't see it as that first pick too often, so ReBoot will see what they have cooked up. But I mean, the very first one, right, we saw it earlier as well, Glacier Polar Halfpipe. A lot of the track in the, you know, beginning section and the middle section is narrow enough that even water bombs can do enough damage. See if that comes into play again. And of course, the last very end U-turn, so susceptible to magnets more so than some of these other tracks.
Man, I really like magnets because of the different aspects that they bring to the item mode, and I'm sure the fans love it as well. We can see a fan for ROX coming in. We've had another man ditching their classes just to come support their favorite teams and players.
Yeah, and a little happy birthday to the coach for ROX as well, it looks like. So happy birthday to you. But we're getting ready for track number 1 in item mode between ReBoot and ROX. We're going to Glacier Polar Halfpipe. And we're off as we see a couple of these players going for different card bodies here in item mode. Seeing that Shellback Raider for Ding as well. One of my favorite cards as well.
Yeah, Shellback Raider, who wouldn't love a little cute card like that? I, for sure, am a fan as well, as we see double Water Wisp for Spell. It's not very common you see that, so it's going to be quickly filtered through.
Yep, just trying to cycle through their initial items, right? Getting rid of these EMPs as well. You're not going to find too much use for a very niche item. So just cycling through for something that's more reliable for those last minutes, especially for your team. We're looking at potential barricades, magnets, angels, things like that.
For sure. I mean, this is going to be a 3-lapper, and this is only the first lap, so you can see the players are taking it really slow right now, gathering up whatever they can. So far, there's only one magnet on the side for Looney.
Yeah, Dutzy is getting away quite far ahead. Now, eventually UFO will come in. Yeah, I was about to say, it's not going to do him too much good because especially near the end, there's a U-turn, so you'll always be able to be targeted by a magnet. So Dutzy, he's not going to feel too comfortable just sitting ahead without much info from the rest of his team.
But he's ahead again, and he just has a banana. Like, Dutzy, he has no fear.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if you're going to get that far ahead, you got to hope that you're getting some boosts, right, just to get further ahead. But no, on the U-turn, we're finally going to have everyone catch up. Now, there was this weird moment earlier when everyone had just cycled through their items. We don't see that every day, but
right.
We're filling up our arsenals once again.
Of course, and now we are in the final lap, and as we take a look at the items, there's only one angel available for ReBoot. There's no angel whatsoever for ROX, so they are open to a lot of attacks.
Yeah, and they don't even have many ways to catch up right now either. Finally, Dutzy getting a magnet. He's going to have to save that for the last seconds. Pure does have a banana. That may come in handy. Dutzy actually just going to shoot forward by using the magnet early, but the UFO comes in clutch. He's going to be slowed down. He's trying to stay ahead. The Wisp comes out, but Spell using that balloon. He's using the water bomb just to get through, cycle through the items. The barricade comes out. They dodge it, and a banana place right behind. And that leaves Plansy up front. Can he get through in first place? The magnet! The magnet pulls him back, and Kosu finishes the race for ReBoot.
The triple tag play between Kosu, Ding, and Looting paid off. It was looking so good for ROX there in 1, 2, 3, 4. However, ReBoot manages to find that angle they need.
Yeah, a great finish, and this was one of the kind of more different track finishes we've seen in item mode, right? Oftentimes we've seen teams really hold on to multiple magnets just to counter each other trying to slingshot forward. But this really came down to one magnet just pulling back Plansy, and then the rest of ReBoot pushing forward so that one of them can guarantee that first place finish. It is worth mentioning again for those who are new. Of course, in item mode, it's whoever crosses the finish line first.
Right, that's all that's needed. Doesn't matter, you know, you could have 2, 3, 4, 5. If the opponent has a player in that first place, that is the victory point going over to them. As we take a look at the replay, we saw Pure turn around and go for some crazy moves. Yeah,
he went for a spin turn attack. Now, those are the mechanics we'll see a little bit more often in item mode. Obviously, it can be used in speed mode as well. I believe I think it might have been Insu who did that a couple times, either in the qualifier or in the Hidden Racer pre-show they did before the league kicked off. But obviously in item mode, you can turn around while maintaining your speed to target someone behind you as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's really cool. I love seeing all these strategies coming out of the item mode. And of course, the next track is going to be ready for us. It is going to be Factory Brody's Gloom. Kicking off round 2, ROX looking real good so far with Jung in the lead. However, there are a lot of members of ReBoot to help out Pure.
Yeah, we saw ReBoot earlier right off the start just trying to block away members of ROX so they can dominate the earlier items. Not to the greatest of successes, but we are seeing a deficiency in the arsenal for now, so Kosu just going to take time to refresh, get double items, and get prepared to help his teammates.
A lot of water bombs being thrown out. Of course, players at this point in the game are not too concerned about getting targeted by such items. This is going to be a 2-lapper, and we know this map, Factory Brody's Gloom, has a lot of obstacles, so it's going to be a pleasure to see how players treat such obstacles.
Yeah, even right here, I mean, the obstacles themselves not the biggest of difficulties, but if you get hit by some items, right, that really throws off your timing, we'll see if any teams try to target that in the last lap. Just a 2-lapper here for Brody's Gloom. Looting taking some good damage, so he's just going to sit back. He does have a magnet in his pocket, so he's not too concerned about supporting his teammates if he needs to.
Right, I mean, there's a lot of angels for this time around. So moving on into this final lap, it is a question, will the offensive items be of much use against so many angels and shields? There's only two magnet on the board for ReBoot right now.
Yeah, and no one on the side of ROX actually holding onto a magnet just yet, so they don't have a way to counter anyone trying to slingshot forward. They don't have any way to pull them back, so even though they have a couple angels right now, we could see a little bit of trouble here. The barricade coming through. Dutzy just trying to avoid that.
Ding leading out real strong right now with two members of ReBoot right behind him in Kosu and Looning. Dutzy trying to get across and break that line of defense.
Yeah, but still, again, nothing to boost him forward. He finally gets a magnet. Can he use it to success? Looning's going to use his, but it's not going to be enough. Junk still holding strong as we get down to the last couple meters, and Pure is going to enter safe and sound to bring yet another track win for ReBoot.
That one felt really controlled by ReBoot. I feel like they had this match planned out and they executed it without much trouble.
Yeah, actually a little bit of a less dramatic round than we've often seen in item mode, right? Oftentimes it's kind of a complete chaotic last couple of meters with the different magnets and potentially trying to target them right as their shields wear off. But this time we didn't see too many actually coming up for ROX. They weren't able to hold on to any of their early ones, just trying to stay up to par, and eventually ReBoot will safely enter the finish line.
ReBoot leading out really strong right now, 2-0, and this could be a potential 3-0 angle for them if they win the next round. And it's interesting because ROX was the one actually beating ReBoot in the speed mode 3-0, so they're going really back and forth right now.
Yeah, oh, a great water bomb shot we're seeing from Kosu in the beginning of the second lap there, getting Clancy as he tries to drift around the corner. Oh, and Kosu body blocking Jung. We missed that on the live feed, but just trying to prove a point. Hey, I used to coach you, all right? Stay in your lane. I still know what I'm doing. Yeah,
Kosu just put a leash back on him, put him back in his place. That was like 3-4 blocks in a row, and that's how you do it. That's how you support your team.
Yep, and we're gonna. Oh, I actually think that might have been on another player trying to watch party this right now. They were just trying to show that off. Well, we're getting ready for track number 3 of item mode between ReBoot and ROX. It's going to be Mine Mother Load. And they're off. ReBoot trying to finish this off 3-0 and take them to another ace match for us here in the last match of the night.
This is going to be Mine Mother Load with a 3-lapper, so our players are going to be once again carefully deciding what items. You know, honestly, it feels like Magnet definitely seems to be one of the most highly prioritized items so far this season, so we see Dutzy and Spell holding on to theirs.
Yeah, now the big question comes into play when also, obviously you want to try to keep some of these shields alive if you're up front, especially if your team isn't stacking Angels and trying to save them for the last seconds, but that means you're losing a spot for a potential magnet, so that's where we see a lot of the calculations coming in from these players, trying to figure out what do they want to keep in their arsenal versus cycle out as they enter the second and third lap.
A lot of boosts across the board. They're going to be quickly utilized to speed up the pace of the match even more. We're seeing Kosu leading out by quite a bit. We will see if an item comes in. No, not even needed. Kosu just slows down himself.
Yeah, Kosu just trying to make sure that he doesn't get caught by anything up front. He's actually trying to also scout out these items. He's going to get shields used on both of those, dodge those safely and sound.
Kosu, he's got the boost, so he can absolutely cut in front of Clancy, which is what he does. And now we see Jung at the leader, top of the pack for ROX. He needs to be the one to pull through.
Yeah, and it's actually just a lot of coordination coming out here from ReBoot. The way they're holding on to first place and then backing off right as another item comes through. We saw that earlier. Their teammates used the UFO, so they actually backed off and then boosted back forward. We'll see if they can keep that up at the third lap, though. Still a ways to go.
This is definitely where that shot calling starts to get a little bit more hectic, and you're not able to calculate things as much because you don't have as much time to work with. But Spell right now looking really comfortable, and he does have an Angel.
Yeah, and we're going to have Dutzy with double magnets as well, so Looning, he's not going to get away with anything too freely. Dutzy's just making sure he stays by so that he can use that if he needs to. He's actually just going to go ahead and use it as Kosu tries to dart forward. Dutzy, he still has another one as well, a missile in hand, and he's just waiting to see if Kosu goes for anything cheeky. The Angel comes out, it blocks out the missile, and now Dutzy, can he catch up? Boosts on either side. Oh, he drops off the track, and Looning will dart forward.
My goodness, ReBoot looking so strong in item mode. They're able to find the answer to the strong lineup of ROX. They know that they are better in item mode, and they absolutely proved it with the 3-0 finish.
Wow, so both teams trading 3-0 scores. It's speed mode for ROX and item mode for ReBoot. That means we get to go to yet another ace match here at the KDL.
Ace match, we love it. Give us more of them. I wonder who's going to come out for each of the teams, you know, as we take a look at some of the names, you have to wonder Looning. He's been a player that has been a huge part of ReBoot's success. And of course, there's Jung for ROX as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got to imagine that on the side of ROX, it's got to be Jung, right? Not only is he great at the speed management itself, but he's always confident in some of these physical battles, so even in a 1v1, he actually has all the freedom to do so himself. Now, on the other side, Looning, he's been touted as a star player, but there is Load listed as a speed ace. We're just watching some of the replays here in the last moments. Now, this was it, Dutzy just trying to get ahead, but the Magnet actually pulls him back, forcing him to fall off the track there, not able to keep great control.
Yeah, Kosu got a fantastic Angel off there, and I thought he might be the one to take it home for ReBoot, but it was actually another player showing that they have such a deep talent pool. They don't need to rely on one player or one strategy. Anyone can step up to the plate when it matters.
All right, both teams trying to figure out who they want to enter the Ace Smash as we find out what the track is, and it's going to be Mine Rickety Rails between ReBoot and ROX.
I love that rickety rail, man.
It's a good track. It's a good track. You know, the first time you play it, you get really confused as you're entering on the left side. You see there, you can try to draft onto the extra rail to get that shortcut. And if it's your first time playing Kart Rider Drift, you get a little confused on like, how do I even land there? Obviously, if you drift first on the jump, you'll kind of maintain the drift moving forward. And it's going to be Ding coming out for ReBoot, going up against Jung from ROX.
Ding is a player that I definitely did not expect to see, but you know, if you take a look at this player, it is no surprise because Ding has definitely proven so far to be quite the successful player for ReBoot.
Yeah, we'll see if he can prove that here as well. Now, Ding, something to his name is that he's held on to the first place time attack record in Mine Gold Rush, but it's not the same as Rickety Rails, right? Two different tracks. We'll see if he can replicate that success here today against Jung.
Right, and on the other side, Jung, he is a victory 4, meaning he won 4 times in the KRPL, 3 times in the team match, and 1 time in individual. A really strong player coming in.
All right, well, both players are going to have to win this ace match to bring home the victory for their team in their second team match of the KDL. We're going to Mine Rickety Rails. And we're off of the ace match between ReBoot and ROX. It's Ding going up against Jung as Ding takes the first lead.
Both players trying to take the inner lining as much as possible in order to secure that position in front of the other opponent. Ding right now is the person leading out and has a full control at the moment.
Yeah, but Ding, it looks like just looking at his movement, he's actually so concerned about trying to keep Jung at bay. And Jung is just targeting the most optimal line just to stay close. And Jung's just looking for that one window. He's constantly getting these drafts just to keep up. And then he'll try to thread the needle towards the end, it looks like.
The drafts are definitely looking so beautiful for Jung.
That's huge! He gets the draft, and as he tries to bait Ding, Ding actually goes a little too close, thinking Jung wants to get by him, and Ding is forced into the wall. Jung darts forward. Ding nowhere close to even getting a draft to try to overtake Jung.
You can only see the player tag at this point, or a small version of the cart. Ding has a lot of catch-up to do. Now it's all about taking the optimal linings.
Yeah, he's doing what he can, taking the closest drafts here, or drifts rather, on these U-turns, but it's still not enough. Jung not a player to lose a lead like this. He's just trying to stay ahead. Jung simply has to race as safely as possible. Now on the straightaway, 1 extra boost coming in, but Jung saved up 2 in the bank. He's just staying ahead.
This is the final lap, and so far Ding hasn't managed to get a reasonable distance close between himself and Jung, so Jung is looking really comfortable right now. As long as he doesn't make a big mistake, he may have this one in the bag.
Yeah, Ding has so much to work for. He has to constantly fill up his drift gauge as well as constantly use those boosts, and he's just trying to create it. He's getting closer than he was before, but it's not going to be enough. Jung just staying ahead, still no draft in sight, and Jung will be entering the finish line and bringing victory to ROX in their second team match.
What a one-sided victory for ROX coming out of Jung. We can see that this is the player that we were all talking about when he gets a lead, man, and he just focuses on speeding up for that first place. You can see that he just doesn't give it up.
Yeah, and just the amount of pressure he puts on Ding in that first lap, right? Just constantly staying in range for those drafts, but actually not overtaking him until needed. And that's just a lot of control. That means he understands the route he wants to take so well that he's not even, accidentally getting first and then giving way to another draft on the side of Ding. I mean, sure, Zhong didn't necessarily intentionally push Ding into the wall, but he was constantly pressuring him where Ding felt the need to try to take an even closer turn at the end, try to get that straight away through the zigzag, and Ding hits the wall.
A well-deserved victory for ROX. You can see how happy Zhong is right now. He still has the adrenaline going through his fingertips. As we take a look at ReBoot, honestly, they look fine though. They look composed. They're just like egging each other on. We did a good job today. Let's do better next time, guys.
Yeah, I mean, of course, ReBoot, they did start off the KDL here with a victory, so they're not in too much trouble just yet. Meanwhile, ROX, they took that loss against Guangdong Freaks in their first match, so they're happy to take their victory. And as they claimed, they want to go for a 6-win streak here for the rest of the round robin.
I mean, that is definitely going to be a tough record to try to keep up, but if ROX can keep up and show the performance that they have shown today, I am sure a lot of fans will be excited to find out if they can keep that promise.
Yeah, I mean, ROX, right, another team that has the infrastructure and support, and then on top of that, they bring in the best players from all the different tournaments, all the different universes of Kart Rider together to try to compete here in the KDL against some of these other teams who have had just veterans playing in the original Kart Rider League. So ROX, a lot of potential, a lot of hope, but they have so much to prove if they want to stay in the forefront of the KDL.
And I'm sure they're so happy right now that they've finally locked in that first step towards that 6 consecutive victories, because before today, ROX did not have a win. And because ROX was a team, they're a professional team, but their members had a bit of a question mark on them. They had a rookie, they had 2 players coming in from a completely different universe of kart, and I'm just so happy that today they were able to lock in that win as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to mean a lot, right? Because especially if you're coming in from, some of these other universes such as KRPL with Kart Rider Plus and things like that, Kart Rider Rush Plus, rather. I mean, there's a lot that comes with that, right? Where a lot of people say, yeah, sure, you might be the best there, but how are you going to do on stage here, right? In a different setting against players who've been playing for much longer than you, who have been playing the original Kart Rider universe for much longer than you. Can you keep up? And Zhong saying, I can, I'm here, I'm ready for it. He wins his first ace match of the Kart Rider Drift League.
For sure. As we take a look at the newly updated standings, we still have Live Sandbox up at top with Guangdong Freaks in second place, Aura, ReBoot, and Planet following behind.
Yeah, and that means FINALEe now in straight 8th place as the only team without a win. Everyone else actually trading a couple wins here in their second match. FINALEe in a decent amount of trouble in this round robin.
For sure. You don't want to be the one to be that far behind. And every other team right now does have that 1 win locked in for themselves at least. So we can already see that already in day number 3. The gap is starting to grow.
Yeah, and this is what we talk about in a round robin, right? We can always say, okay, you have many more matches, you have more chances, but again, it depends on your schedule. If you still haven't gone up against the monsters of Live Sandbox, Guangdong Freaks, and even some of these other, quote-unquote amateur teams that are filled with legendary players like Sensation, then you got to start to think, I mean, we're just losing all of our chances here in the early rounds.
Yeah, not only Sensation, Guangdong Freaks, and Live Sandbox, but today I'm sure that ROX has proven to be another yet one of those teams that you have to watch out for, because, especially just because of players like Zhong, and he's going to have a fantastic synergy with Vega.
Yeah, so we'll see how these teams develop. I mean, that's the other part is now that we're getting through the first official matches of Kart Rider Drift, teams are going to start to figure out how they want to improve. What are they going to focus on? Because it's going to come down to which teams can adapt in a short amount of time, because there's only a couple days in between each match day.
For sure. Not a lot of time to prepare for the matches at all. I mean, it's like your backs are to the wall, and sometimes how do you come up with all these picks and bans and also the strategies? But that is what pro players always have to do, and which is why we always commend them for their hard work.
Sure.
And it is such a pleasure to see their journey go across.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. And then on top of that, I mean, you're not just playing on your own, right? Sure,
Right.
you can be in the solo mode as well, which is a whole different tournament currently in the Kart Rider Drift League. But in the team mode, you have to figure out your communication, your coordination, and then some teams, right, they excel at having everyone still be able to play whatever their role is, right, no matter what the position is. But then teams like Sensation, where they only have the core four, they're kind of stuck with, well, I'm only good at this, let's just focus on that. Then if you kind of lose your first running position or something like that, it starts to become a much harder match for you.
Right, and I want to talk about some of these, crucial players coming in. I feel like Looning is a player that we've had so much expectation for. He's been regarded as the dark horse to watch out for per se, and he has definitely been keeping up that lead for his team. I feel like Looning, you can't really blame this guy for anything.
Yeah, and he is continuing to prove himself right in the solo mode as well. He's already made it to the round of 16, breaking through in a tough group of Group A in the round of 32 alongside some legendary players. So keep an eye on Looning as well. But again, we've talked about it both in speed mode and item mode. Part of that just comes down to what you can train in your teamwork. Now, something else we should mention is, of course, we're still only in the preseason of
Right.
Kart Rider Drift League, right? We're going to have a
Right.
couple preseasons, and then the regular season that launches the true league will be kicking off later in the year. But let's take a look at what happened today. First of all, we had Sensation going up against Aura, and that did go to our first ace match of KDL.
Yeah, I mean, both teams were pretty evenly matched. It was 3-1 for speed and 1-3 the other way around for the item mode. And of course, it was Hojun coming in for Sensation, the team's leader.
Yeah, going up against Hero on the other side, right? So a little bit of coach-apprentice or coach-player rivalry there between Hojun and Hero. But Hojun, puts his foot down and says, you know what? I'm a legend in Kart Rider for a reason. Brings home their first victory for Sensation.
I really enjoyed also the performance out of Aura today, so I'm excited to see them play more. But of course, in Match 6, it was Planet taking that victory over FINALEe-sports.
Yeah, quite cleanly as well. Speed mode did come down to the wire as a 3-2 scoreline, but they win both team matches in speed and item, so no need to go down to a nerve-wracking ace match between these two teams.
FINALEe-sports, they're the only team right now with 0 wins, so I know that they're going to find a way, especially in item mode. They need to figure out who is really the one shot calling and does he have the right read on the meta. Things like that are going to be super crucial. And for speed mode, I think it was just really close and almost kind of like a bit unlucky this time. So I feel like as long as they emphasize item mode more in their practicing, I think they'll have better results.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things, right, is you can't always guarantee you're always going to win one of these modes. So you still want to have somewhat of a balance. Like you mentioned, speed mode sometimes just comes down to, who's in better condition that day. Now, of course, for our last match, it was actually quite one-sided both ways. Speed mode going a 3-0 for ROX, and then ReBoot striking back in item mode with a 3-0 scoreline themselves.
And I think that really made the story between these two teams that much more exciting because of how even paced they were at throwing the punches at each other. And when it came down to the ace mode, it was really close as well, but there was one huge mistake, and we can see when you make even one mistake, how much they can set you back against the best of the best.
Yeah, I mean, in that ace match, right, Thing did everything he could to try to catch back up, but he was behind on all fronts, right, both in terms of the positioning on the track and then trying to refill his drift gauges and then to boost forward, so he couldn't always take the optimal line. And despite that, he did eventually catch up right before the finish line to get in range for a potential draft, but it just was not enough.
For sure, it was only a 0.5 second difference. And of course, next matchup, we're going to have a huge one. It is going to be Sensation versus Guangdong Freaks, as well as Live Sandbox versus ReBoot right after.
Yeah, so this is coming up this weekend on Saturday as we continue the Kart Rider Drift League. Of course, on the weekends, we'll have the solo matches come back as well. Round of 32 Group C will be happening with the likes of World and Kosu. And then we see Banana in there as well, and Yoon, who we saw play today earlier in the team matches.
Yeah, I mean, Banana player, I just feel like just his name, his presence, his in-game skills, everything about this guy is like a superstar, and I just want to see him play more and more. I wonder how he's going to perform against all these talented people in Group C. I know it's not the hardest, like Group A and B were regarded to be the hell, but Group C is still going to be really tough.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, this could end up being like a closer group to some extent, right? I mean, Group A and B, they had some incredible players, but we'll see how things pan out in Group C. And just as a note, and I'm going to just say this on the English broadcast as well, because I know the Korean caster said it as well, but Dog World has claimed that the dog in Dog World is silent, so we're just calling him World, but then the question remains of, why not just name yourself World? All right, I'm just going to leave that for the record. All right, so we'll see. how that goes. But the team matches for the weekend, I think those will be interesting as these two quote-unquote amateur teams go up against these crazy, monstrous pro teams. And now we're just trying to refresh the standings here. We had to make a small update for Aura as they correct their records here. So sitting at 3rd place, but unfortunately, this just means nothing has changed and FINALEe is still in last place.
Yeah, and we can also see that, you know, every single team right now has a loss except for Live Sandbox and Guangdong Freaks, and both teams are playing later this week. So it's going to be interesting to find out which team will be the first one to give them their loss.
Yeah, I mean, Guangdong Freaks, they'll have to go up against Sensation. Live Sandbox handily beat Sensation in their first match. We'll see if Guangdong can do the same. And then, of course, Live Sandbox will be playing their second match as well. But, I mean, just based off of the first match, you know, very first impressions, very short impressions, Live Sandbox looks like the team to beat.
Yeah, Live Sandbox, the team in itself is really strong. Not only that, when you take a look at the members individually, you have members like Insu, you have Neil. Wherever you look, it's superstars all across the board.
Yeah, Insu and Hyunsu with the duo synergy as well. And then there's Neil, you know, kind of the global superstar who entered Kartrider even when it was really just going off in Korea. You know, Neil comes in and says, you know, I'm really going to take this by storm. And he's been on an upward trajectory, kind of being called as a potential genius here for Kartrider and now Kartrider Drift. So curious to see if he can keep that up as well.
And you have to remember that their opponent is going to be ReBoot, who we just saw in action today. And ReBoot had a star player in Looning, constantly getting that first position. So that rivalry between Looning and potentially Neil is going to be really exciting to see. I bet you it's going to be really close.
I would hope that that goes to an ace match. That'd be kind of sick to see, because I'm also curious if it does go to an ace match. Obviously, I'm sure it changes track to track, but who does Sandbox field, right? I mean, they have so many players. Maybe it is really specific, you know, per track, they have a different ace up their sleeves, but that's just the depth that that roster has.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of depth, like, when it comes to the ace mode, right? That is no longer your arsenal. You're only working with one player representing the team.
Yeah.
And I feel like both teams definitely have that one really strong player locked in, especially just building up hype for the ace match. But of course, it's not going to be guaranteed that we get it, so hopefully we get that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have a couple days break, and then we'll be back with more Kartrider Drift League. Thanks so much for joining us. My name was William. I was joined by Peter today. We'll be back on Saturday with more KDL.